What's up, deep thinkers? It's Robert from Existence First with a new thought experiment. And the thought experiment is in part, well, it's a question, which can be used to answer another question. Okay. The first question is, well, it dates all the way back to when I was in high school. There was this other student who was like super intelligent and into philosophy. He was a really cool guy. And I remember emailing him with my question, which was, should I allow myself to experience emotions like anger or anxiety, even if they're not productive, right? Should I cut out those emotions? Should I experience only the positive emotions? Or would I be missing out on the full spectrum of my humanness and experiencing only a subset of what life has to offer? And don't at the moment I don't recall his exact answer. He was an objectivist, so and he studied Ayn Rand, so I'm sure his answer had something to do with that. But I can answer it now, 15 years later, based on an experience from this week, and that experience was that I was reminded of the fundamental. You know, in life we always have these fundamentals to our own life philosophy. But as life happens, there's a lot of distractions, and we sometimes deviate from those fundamentals. Okay, it happens all the time in hockey. I see it when you can have a very experienced hockey player, but you just give the right context, the perfect storm, so to speak, or certain emotional triggers, high pressure situation, or maybe they're angry or agitated that day, and they'll forget a fundamental, right? Such as, I don't know, don't pass in front of the net or something. And so then they pass in front of the net, it gets intercepted, and immediately the other team scores on them. So what did I learn in life this week? You know, life is like a hockey rink sometimes. And what I learned, I'm going to call that person back, is that when I'm trying to solve a problem and get something done, anger and anxiety are very, very costly. They're very counterproductive. And I'm not going to share the specific situation I was dealing with, but it was a situation that made a lot of other people angry or agitated or anxious, right? And, well, multiple examples actually. It seemed like everything was happening this week. Everything was going wrong, right? And the mistake that I made, where I deviated from my fundamental, was that I gave a little bit too much attention to those emotions. Okay, so how does this work? The way I see this, okay, if you're trying to accomplish something logically, so therefore I'm not talking about, you're creating art or music or doing theater or watching a theater or watching a performance, right? I'm talking about you're trying to solve a problem, you're trying to accomplish a task, okay? I treat it almost like a chessboard, right? And so if you've played chess before, then you probably know what it feels like to be very purely logical. If you've ever taken a math test and done very well on it, then for sure you know this feeling. It's a feeling of strict logic. A equals B, B does not equal C, right? Like just very strict logic, which this reminds me of one of the math classes I took. It's a very, very good example of this type of thinking, right? Just college geometry, but that's besides the point. So if you were playing chess and somebody came into the room and started to distract emotionally, like, I don't know, if people got into a fight, like while I was trying to play chess, my performance would be impaired severely, right? Or if I started to get overly anxious about, like, oh, well, what if, what if something goes wrong, blah, 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 or I don't know. See, it's a little bit different. I know chess, you're just dealing with these like pieces of like these wooden pieces, and so where's the emotion going to be anyways, right? It's not like you're dealing with an angry customer or something, right? when you're dealing with an angry customer, that's when your emotions are going to run high, your ego's going to feel attacked, all of this stuff that's going to trigger you um, to start experiencing these feelings. But my point is that if you give too much attention to those feelings, you're going to be pulled away from logic, right? Because, and there's a principle here, which is a Tony Robbins principle, that where attention goes, energy flows. And so you might think that, oh, maybe I need to think more about why I'm so depressed. And once I figure that out, I don't know, I've never had success with that. I've always had success with taking the mindset of, okay, this is the problem I want to solve, I'm going to try to solve it. Plus, switching my mindset from pessimism to optimism. So switching it from thinking, oh, something bad is going to happen, to, ooh, something good is going to happen. Especially if I take this step, something good is going to happen, right? So, and I have other videos that kind of go through how to get out of periods of pessimism, but let's stay focused on the task at hand, which is remembering this fundamental that I was reminded of this week, which is staying logical, okay? I'll finish with this example. In undergrad psychology, I remember reading a study where they wanted to test this theory of catharsis, which is the idea that when you feel an emotion and you have to get it out and release it in order to diminish the feeling. Okay, and they tested this with the emotion of anger by having two groups of people both think of a situation that made them angry. So they both thought of a situation. One group then was told to hammer a nail. The other group was told to just sit there. So 10 minutes later, after the two groups did their thing, the researchers measured, just by self-report, how angry the individuals were. And the group that hammered the nail, they were angrier. So it failed to support the theory. And then that begs the question, well, why weren't they releasing their anger through, hammering the nail? Wouldn't they be less angry? But no, they were more angry. And why is that? I think it's answered by Tony Robbins, that where attention goes, energy flows. That they put more attention onto that negative thing, onto their emotion of anger about that thing, and then it just grew, right? It's almost like playing chess, right? Your attention is going there, the energy is flowing there, but then something emotional comes up and you deviate, and it pulls your attention away, right? And it impairs your performance. Same with hockey, right? You know the fundamentals, you know what to execute, but something emotional comes up and boom, you forget about a fundamental, and now you're playing at a lower level than what your potential is. So that's just a hockey game, though. Imagine if you're actually doing life, right? And now you're living at a lower potential than you could actually live at. So that was a lesson that I learned this week. Remember to think deeply, and of course, put your existence first.